How a man could pick up a nuclear warhead and carry it after it took 4 men to jettison the same warhead overboard days earlier was hard to imagine, but the big sailor's adrenaline must have been pumped up because he had no choice. If Damien had refused to remove it, the timer would have reactivated and they would all be dead. But under different circumstances, he might think himself crazy because in actuality, he is talking about a metal chamber with a mixture of chemical, mineral, and electrical innards as if it was a person that could respond back. It was hard, though, to refute the fact that he could, under any circumstance, pick the weapon up, but he did. What makes it stranger, though, is how he imagined it has become super light. And this new revelation, for some reason, didn't even take the man who has had to face many dangerous situations in his life as a soldier by surprise. People talk about artificial intelligence as if it was something new. But his Bible that he's hid under his bed for much of his adult life because of communist rule freely talked about angels, but never would he imagine one appearing as an inanimate object. So in Damien's mind he knew that this weapon wanted to be removed. He even hesitated for 1 moment at the raft to drop the warhead into the water, but stopped abruptly and changed his mind when he heard the click. He didn't have to look at the timer to know the 60 minutes on the timing mechanism had moved to 58 or 59. It doesn't make him feel any better, though, when he lowers the weapon into the raft and sees the 59 on the register suddenly turn back to 60, because his belief system has been altered and this weapon is literally reading his mind. The snap of the hatch door brings the senior sailor's thoughts back to the present, and although he is leaving an enemy ship, he is happy to see the face of the submarine's captain and know that there are survivors. Captain Reason, at the same time looking back, sees a man delivering to a raft what he believes to be a warhead because some time ago he visualized it in a dream. The mentally confused crewman, coming back to his senses, joins his Russian superior next to the life raft, but both men suddenly experience a sharp vibration. The submarine is literally sinking, so it is imperative that they get the weapon away from the vessel or all their efforts have been for naught. The submarine commander, Captain Reason, feels the same jolt and tries to close the hatch back up, but it is frozen in place. And man knows that if the submarine sinks to only the level of where the water can freely enter the vessel through the opening, then the entire sub will simply sink, killing everyone left remaining on the ship. He even orders the lower door closed, but it is frozen in place as well. So all the man can do is watch as the nearby ocean makes it closer to the top of the deck, and then onward he imagines it breaching the conning tower and downward into the open hole. And what-ifs are not in the commander's rule book. He won't risk the other half of his crew on possibilities. So in his mind this commander can only do what's left, as he gives an order to the last remainder of his crew members: abandon ship. In the meantime, as U.S. Navy rubber rafts that are compacted for storage are being thrown out the hatch door and inflated, the two Russians have successfully rowed their raft across the area between the two ships and have tied their vessel up to the oil tanker. But at no time did they look behind them to see the activity which was taking place on the submarine, or what was even following close behind them. The crew of the New Horizon looked down on the warhead, which they discarded days earlier, but for some reason they took it in stride, because its presence is not any stranger than everything else that has happened on their voyage. But these seamen didn't miss what their two shipmates failed to notice as the first of the Finns started arriving at the scene. These Finns, though, are not acting in an erratic manner, but rather in a manner that appears deliberate, as they are moving directly in between the submarine and tanker, as if they were creating a divide. All the Finns, though, are not just sharks. They are also the fins of dolphins. But these dolphins are acting in a different manner than man is accustomed to seeing. These dolphins, though, are not playfully skimming the water, and the familiar chirping of their speech is unheard. And if a smile is possible on a dolphin's lip, as imagined at places such as SeaWorld, it wasn't happening today. These creatures gliding along under the waves of the ocean with their normally aggressive adversaries, the great white sharks, as their compadres, are here purposely. And if a shark is the greatest danger in the oceans today, the mystery of the dolphin's presence is perplexing, because dolphins historically have been here to protect man. Today, though, there is a kinship. What has heightened Commander Reason's concern as his ship is being abandoned, though, was the fact that these mammals, he noticed once he reached topside, have now taken positions around the tanker. In fact, he watched as several sharks followed the raft carrying the warhead back to the ship. And the problem he faces in his mind is simple. Does he take a chance with his crew and forge through the groupings of Finns to reach the tanker for safety, or take his crew further away in the rubber boats and hope the sharks remain at the larger conveyance? Sharks can make mincemeat out of rubber boats. Out of 100 sailors, a loose count of 52 have made it to 6 different rafts. And the desperation increases as the submarine appears lower in the water, because once it sinks it will literally suck everything in close proximity down with it. The crew of the tanker, knowing the dilemma the submariners are in, for whatever reason, are not shooting at these sharks to drive them away. It was like a big puzzle where these tanker types knew something that the underwater boys didn't. But was the knowledge good or bad? They simply watched the U.S. Navy men as the rubber rafts left the vicinity of both vessels in a southerly direction.